Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today I am going to talk about failing my quest. All right, so a couple of years ago, it struck me that Orion Akaba had been exiled from the Vox Machina Mighty Nine Bells Hell's table, right? Exiled from the Critical Role Exandria table. Um, so I was fascinated by this, and I set it as a personal quest to return Orion Akaba to the Critical Role table. And so what did I need to do to get that done, right? Well, one, I needed to make it clear why Orion Akaba should be returned to the table. I think I've done that. And so my point was, and I did a video of over 260 videos on this topic. And my point was that, yes, Orion Akaba absolutely was a problematic player 10 years ago. But then Matthew Mercer came along, and 2 years after they had exiled him, said, I've reached, his friends have informed me that he's done the work to move forward. We wish him well, right? And that was like 8 years ago, right? That Matthew Mercer was like, he's doing the work to move forward. Now it's 10 years later, right? And I think where we are now is Orion Akaba for 10 years has never stopped working for Critical Role. His original art, original labor, original character has helped every single Critical Role co-founder. And I do consider him a Critical Role has helped every other Critical Role co-founder. And so for 10 years of ceaseless labor and for making every other Critical Role co-founder a millionaire, I believe after 10 years, it was totally appropriate to return him to the Critical Role table. So I needed to establish why he should be returned to the table. I believe I've established that. Then I needed to get that message to Matthew Mercer. Well, why just Matthew Mercer? It's my humble opinion that Critical Role has two leaders, in my humble opinion. They have a very literal leader, the CEO, Travis Willingham. And I believe he leads by authority, right? But one of my mentors taught me a long time ago, there's two ways to lead. You lead by authority or you lead by influence. So a group usually has, and if a group has no influence leader, then the authority leader matters, right? But if they have an influence leader, the influence leader matters and the authority leader doesn't. And so it is my humble opinion that only Matthew Mercer could decide whether Orion Akaba came back to the table or not. So I needed to get my message to Matthew Mercer, okay? Now, I'm a D&D fan who lives in the suburbs of Philadelphia. That's all I am. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a celebrity, right? That's all I am, right? So how am I going to be able to do that? Well, I did it. So at this point, another YouTuber with a 100K sub button just interviewed Matthew Mercer. And he explained that the reason he interviewed him was Matthew Mercer contacted him to talk to him about my Orion Akaba point. There you go. So I was able to do it. I was able to get this supposition that Orion Akaba deserved to be back at the table because of the work he's been doing for 10 years. So Matthew Mercer was aware of my message, and I made my message clear, okay? And that's all you could ask for, right? No, I needed to ask for one more thing. I needed Orion Akaba returned to the table. I believe that was good for Orion Akaba, good for Critical Role, and good literally for the entire nation of America for many reasons. And I've made that clear within my playlist, right? And so that last part, it's on me to convince Matthew Mercer. Well, based on the timing of when this 100K sub button YouTuber said that he talked to Matthew, he had that information. He knew what I was saying well before they made the decision not to bring him back for campaign 4 Aramon, which means I have failed my quest completely. So if you were one of the many people who came into the comments and said, Scott, Orion Akaba is never returning to Critical Role, you were right, okay? And I was wrong. I really believed that I could change the world, that I could change the mind of Matthew Mercer, and that Matthew Mercer could easily change the mind of everybody on Critical Role, and that there could be this redemption arc for Orion Akaba to return. I was wrong. I failed. I was not able to do that. And that does make me sad, and I am very disappointed. That's it.